with Dojo Live. Welcome back. This morning it is Wednesday, October 14th, 2020. Here we go. We have another fantastic guest today. But before I do that, before I introduce Jeanniey, I would like to just quickly welcome Ram. Ram joining us from our sponsor, Encora, as a first-time co-host today. And we're looking forward to doing more of these. Ram, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, Tulio, thank you again for having me on the show. It's wonderful. I've been always wanting to do this with you and with DojoLIVE, and I'm excited to represent the digital experience team at Encora and also be a new, freshly minted co-host at DojoLIVE.
Excellent. Welcome. And let's not forget our guest, which makes all this possible. Jeanniey, please tell us a little bit about yourself. You're the CMO of DailyPay, but let's get to know you a little bit. Tell us about you.
Well, thanks. I'm Jeanniey Walden, and gosh, I'm the Chief Innovation and Marketing Officer at DailyPay, but we'll talk about that later. What you need to know about me is I am a workaholic, scuba diving, loving business expert that's just obsessed with anything related to marketing in a way that brings the customer closer to the company. And I started out as a teacher. I couldn't find a full-time teaching job, so I ended up at JCPenney, and I realized you're managing a call center, which was my job there. You're managing older people. It's the same as teaching. It's just a different age. They're a little taller than the first graders that I got my degree in teaching, but it's still all about inspiring people. So I really focus on creating really authentic, inspirational, and relatable content and connecting with ways. And I think that's why I love marketing.
I love that. I always wanted to be a teacher. That was my goal in life, to become a teacher. So
I wanted to be a scuba diver. So
yeah, there you go. There you go. You don't know. Sometimes you end up being what you're supposed to be, but you have a different canvas and you've got to paint with different colors. So congratulations in making that shift. Tell us a little bit about DailyPay. What is the company all about?
Right, well, I've got to say I've been a CMO for a number of years, and I've had many great opportunities and roles at different companies, but DailyPay is by far the coolest, I would say. So at DailyPay, what we do is we work with companies to integrate with their existing payroll and time management systems so that their employees can have transparency into the pay that they've earned. And more so than that, they can have control and choice over when they want to access their pay. So no more waiting for a traditional payday, whether it's once a week, every other week, or once a month. We make the ability to access your pay as you earn it easily accessible to you. And it's free for the company. It's really great. It's great for both the company and the employee. And we love that we're being able to have a positive financial impact on all workers, especially in this crazy economy that we're living in this lovely year of 2020.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to learning a lot more about that, because a lot of questions come up related to, is this a different payroll approach to things? Is this one of those borrow against your pay things? But before we go into that, we'll definitely learn all about it. Let's see what the topic was for today that you've chosen. The topic for today is employers can give employees the power of controlling choice with on-demand pay. Now, I'm curious to learn more about that. Tell us how that works.
Yeah, so I'm going to take you guys all the way back to World War II, right? Before World War II, people got paid daily. The payroll person inside a company, you'd do your job, you'd come in, you'd get your pay for the day, and you'd leave. It really wasn't until after World War II that the government needed to put some taxation into place to control the money that was coming in and out of the economy and help rebuild our overall economy in the US. And with those restrictions, companies started to pay taxes on employees that they had. Therefore, it became too demanding to do daily payroll on an ongoing basis. And incredible organizations like ADP introduced payroll systems, and companies started to introduce different payroll periods. Now, along with that, as employees, we fell into that little rotation. Like I said, whether it's every week, 2 weeks, or month, we had to adjust our lives to manage our finances to get paid when the company felt that it was a good idea to pay us. And that kept payroll compliant for sure. It reduced errors in the amount of money that people are getting paid, and it enabled companies to scale tremendously. But really, there's no reason why we shouldn't have access to our pay as we work and as we earn it. And at DailyPay, that's what we are doing. We're revolutionizing the way that pay works and giving employees both control and choice over what they need and when they need it so that they can take better care of themselves and their family.
And that's amazing, Jeannie. You know, I think I'm glad you kind of took it back to way back when people would be paid as they finished the job, right? They don't have to wait for a payday. And then using technology to bring back an old concept that basically gave people and workers access to their funds when they earn it is really amazing. So it's really applying the old with the new, and you really balance that. And my next question is kind of aligned with that. In this day and age of the pandemic, right? How has DailyPay been affected, or how has it made more of an impact? I'm guessing access to funds or your pay is much more of a real need in today's day and age, and especially people can go to their workplace and other things that have compounded the situation. So can you shed a little more light about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many answers that I can give you on this topic. So I'm going to try and keep them in little snippets that are interesting so your listeners and viewers stay awake. But so, you know, the first thing that we saw during the pandemic was that people that were employed that had access to DailyPay had a big shift in the way that they were using their funds. Before COVID, people were using their funds for individual needs. If I'm married or if I have a roommate, I'm paying X amount of bills and this is my contribution to the household. But unfortunately, during COVID, so many families were negatively impacted financially through pay cuts, through furloughs, or through straight out loss of jobs, that the working person in the household became critical to keeping the household running effectively during COVID. So we've seen a huge shift to having access to your pay when your family needs it or when your household needs it is become really an individual element that's so specific to each household. Companies can't make policies that meet everybody's needs. So by giving the employee control of what they can take and when they can take it, really gives the financial flexibility to the household to manage through the COVID crisis until the economy is completely back on its feet. And that's really been a lifesaver for many, many employees, whether you have an hourly job, whether you're working 2 jobs, or whether you're in a management role.
So Jeannie, I'm curious to understand how this works with the employer. Is this basically replacing the traditional payroll, or is it kind of like those services? Because people use those services, the advanced pay services, and they pay very hefty fees or interest to borrow against their pay. How does this work? Is this integrated into the payroll or separate? Yeah. How does it work?
So this is the opposite. So DailyPay is absolutely not a loan, and it's not an advance. Basically, the way it works is you have access to the money that you have earned by working at your job. So say I have a job and I make $100 a day. After 3 days, I've earned $300. If I quit that job today, the company would write me a check for $300. So once you have earned the money, it is yours. DailyPay just gives you the ability to take that money out as soon as you've earned it. So we're also not a payroll company. We integrate with payroll and time management systems so we can see Mary has worked 3 days and her hourly rate is $20 an hour. Therefore, this pay period, she's earned X $100. So the company validates the number of hours that have been worked and the rate of pay. We just make that information available to the employee, and then we give them access to those earned wages or earned income immediately. And that is fantastic because it costs a company absolutely nothing to integrate DailyPay into their ecosystem. So how many times have people come to you and said, hey, let me give you a free benefit that will help your employees. And by the way, it'll also reduce your turnover by at least 40%. I mean, it's kind of unheard of, which is one of the reasons that my job is so much fun, going out and evangelizing that message. But for the employee, it's very seamless. There is no payback because they've already earned that money. So the fee is a flat fee. DailyPay charges $2.99 if you want your money immediately. And when I say immediately, I mean you're in line at the grocery store. It's 3 days before payday. Your children invite some friends over, you're buying all this food to feed them, and you realize as they're running everything through that you don't have enough money in your bank account to cover the groceries. Instead of being embarrassed and putting some of the chicken back, you just click on DailyPay and take out the additional $11.23 that you need to make it whole, and you continue on with your life. Then on payday, you get your regular pay less the money that you took out early.
It's kind of like an ATM fee. When you go to your non-bank, your foreign bank ATM fee. So
and way better than Vegas.
Yeah, exactly.
Vegas ATM, I will tell you that.
All right, so I wish we had one of those like crazy like buzzer, because like the alarms are going off in terms of like, this is a no-brainer. Why wouldn't companies want to adopt this? What's the hurdle for you guys getting this in every company in the world? What's the pushback you're getting?
There's really no hurdle. So, the pushback that we have gotten in the past is this is a fairly new innovation in pay. And I would say probably around 2016, 2017, it was so new that a lot of companies felt like it was a little too good to be true. So the pushback was more along the lines of, hey, let me wait and see who else is doing this. But the adoption curve, especially during COVID, has gone so sky high. We work with incredible companies. We work with about 80% of the Fortune 100 companies that offer on-demand pay are using DailyPay. So we've got incredible partners from Adecco to Bright Spring Health, the great employees at Kroger, Tractor Supply are all using this. So I think it's more of a question of why haven't they done it yet, more than what's the pushback.
That's great. So, and is the experience completely digital? Because that's what we like to do at Encora. So my first question would be, is there any paperwork or exchange of cash or anything involved? Or are you talking about an app and I'm good to go?
Yeah, it's an app. Go to the App Store, download DailyPay. If your employer offers it, you're good to go. But really, one of our goals is to help replace paper checks and have people managing their pay through the DailyPay app. And the reason that that's important is because for some organizations, and I know that we're all working from home pretty much right now, but for organizations that run into compliance issues when they've got to get paper checks out to people, either for termination pay or just during snowstorms, trying to find a courier who can get people in North Dakota their paycheck when there was just 7 feet of snow and it's a paper check, and then those people need to take it to the bank, that's really not efficient anymore. So DailyPay allows it all to be digital so that you can just reduce those paper checks and reduce any timing constraints. You're not relying on the post office or the couriers anymore to get people what they need. So for termination pay, or if there was a payroll glitch, the back-end teams of payroll managers can just put it all into DailyPay and avoid paying fees and fines for missing deadlines.
It's amazing how you can do now complex banking transactions with a swipe on your phone, right? So
right.
It's pretty cool. And the fact that you've taken such a simple concept but made it so much more novel and modern and accessible is where the secret sauce is. I think that's really brilliant, and I commend DailyPay for thinking of that.
Thank you. There's a lot of logistics behind the scenes, so I'm not sure if the audience listening is filled with payroll managers or CFOs, but it's very simple for the end user, the employee. It's extremely seamless for the entire company to implement, but for the back end payroll teams looking at compliance, regulatory statutes, and just money management. We've got that all taken care of as well, but that's not as much fun to talk about. So I'm happy to answer any questions if they pop up. But really, it's really about choice and control as far as the employee is concerned.
Well, actually, we do have a couple of questions from the audience. If you do have a question, please just you can send it via Twitter at DojoLIVE. We're watching that stream, or make a comment right where you're watching. We'll try to pick those questions. So the two questions. Let's start with this one first. What differentiates DailyPay from its competitors?
Oh gosh. Okay. So, depending on who you consider our competitors, there's a lot of ways to answer it. I think when the industry first started, there were a lot of people offering immediate access to pay. And the first split that we saw was companies like DailyPay working through other organizations, integrating with their payroll and time management so that you could ensure that the dollars earned have actually been verified by your employer, that they've been earned. And then there are these B2C providers. You might see commercials for them where they say, send us the last couple paychecks that you've received and we will give you a digital advance on the money that you've earned. That's not really on-demand pay. That's more of a digital payday loan. So I think that's the first split, is you should always be looking for a company that works with a corporation or organization for compliance reasons and to make sure that you're out of that digital loan arena. The second, area of differentiation we see is how a program comes together. DailyPay has been recognized as the gold standard by a couple different organizations because we take our job really seriously. When we integrate with a company, we don't just say, hey, here's our app. Good, here you go. Just give us the files and off you go. We actually partner with an organization, with their payroll teams, with their customer service teams, with their HR organizations, and even with the store managers with multiple locations to share just our total excellence approach to implementing a program and making sure that it's benefiting all employees in the organization. You asked a question early on about how if this is for just hourly employees or for everyone in the organization, and it is definitely for everybody. We don't just offer the ability to access your pay early. We also offer the ability to help people save their pay before they get paid. And what I mean by that is, if you've earned $300 already, you might want to try and start saving, but you're unsuccessful. And every payday, you've already got the money spent before the check comes out. We give you the ability to tuck like $50 of it, whatever you want, away, so that when you log back in and it says how much have you earned that you can spend, it eliminates that amount and gets you in that savings mode, which so many people need during COVID to build that financial wellness and security level back up again.
And it's amazing that, you promote savings. It's the fact that you're not a loan company, you're really giving more access to earned funds as well as you're promoting savings. In my opinion, it's a very positive financial thought and a positive financial influence. So that's really noble in my opinion, and it shows good values in terms of how you're approaching the business here. One question I have is, I am an employer rather, and I want to implement DailyPay. Is this a complex process? Like, do I have to work with IT? How long does this take? Is this something that I can do by myself, or do I need like a team to do an implementation?
Yeah, well, I would say that if you work for a company and you didn't involve anybody else, you probably get slapped on the wrist at some point. But so you do want to involve the rest of your coworkers because it's a cool program. But really the implementation, like I said, it's seamless. We've built a number of APIs to integrate with existing payroll systems like ADP and time management systems like Kronos. And so the implementation really is like a flip of a switch for all, from those standpoints to make things go live. We do like to spend some more time than just a flip of a switch to work with a company and identify who their employees are, what their needs are, and what the goals of the program are. Because interestingly, people use DailyPay, companies use DailyPay for different reasons. In fact, some companies use DailyPay for competitive reasons, competitive hiring. I mean, imagine if you worked at a fast food company and you were trying to hire people for $11 an hour, and a competitive fast food company across the street is also paying $11 an hour. How does the employee choose which one to go to? Well, you're going to choose the one that gives you your pay as you earn it, rather than having to wait 2 weeks and potentially get a job. So competitive hiring is one of the reasons that companies will work with DailyPay. Another reason is turnover reduction. We have some amazing clients who have incredible employee experience programs, but they can't get people to stay longer than the first few months. And so they've implemented DailyPay to say, hey, we want to try and incent our employees to stay at least 6 months, because then they can unlock 401k matches, they can unlock training, they can see their career shaping up. And really, people get disincentivized, or they have financial needs, they have to pick up a second job, it doesn't work. So a lot of companies will use us to reduce turnover. And like I said earlier, we see an average of 40% turnover at a minimum with companies that we work with, because who wants to leave when you have full control of your money? And that's a great benefit. And then the third reason is some companies will look at employee satisfaction. And we tend to see that employees are 69% happier at the companies they're working with when they have access to DailyPay, because they feel like it's an added benefit and they feel like they're in control. And at DailyPay, we just did a study with the Harris poll results, and we found that this holiday season, because employees have been challenged financially so much due to COVID, almost half of them are relying on advice or benefits from their employer to help them make it through the holidays and stay financially intact. So employers have, they have a real challenge on their hands. They've got to rebuild the economy, make some profits, but also do it in a way that supports their employees.
Yeah. So we have another question from the audience, but before we do that, I've been sitting here thinking, okay, where could I have used this in the past? And I had this moment where I realized, when your payroll is on the 15th, and the 15th is a Friday, and you have certain bills that are due by the 17th, and it's not going to get there on time because you can't process it fast enough to get there on time. So you transfer money from your savings to cover that expense. So this would solve that, because I could potentially take the money out on the 13th to not have to transfer the money out of the savings. So great idea. And then that brought me to think about expenses, right? And I'm not sure if this is on your roadmap or if it's a thought or an idea that I'm presenting to you. But one big thing is always like when you process your expenses and you're tracking them and you get them like a month later, and sometimes you've already paid for that stuff. So you've had to fund your own expenses when in reality you get reimbursed. Like, could I take that money as I'm spending it right out of the DailyPay?
Totally.
Okay, so it's
yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so that brings you to the question of the audience, which is, I'm a business owner. Do I need to provide customer support if I sign up for DailyPay, or do you guys do that? That's a great question.
Yeah, so we actually provide 2 levels of customer support. So the last thing we want to do is implement a new offering into a company and cause an increase in customer service or employee support questions, or a line of people, trying to get to the payroll or HR manager for a new offering. So we do offer both training and that level 1 and level 2 support. And that equates to big savings. We actually just did an analysis of if a company had to hire those people, how much more would they need to invest in their organization? So it's a pretty nice benefit for a zero cost solution.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, Tulio.
Built-in concierge. Go ahead, Ram. Go ahead.
But I want to ask, how do you do it behind the scenes, right? How is it to work at DailyPay? What's your values? What are your cultures? How do you go there and win every day?
Yeah, well, Jason Lee, who's our CEO and founder, is probably one of the most incredible people that you could ask to work with. He is, just so full of what we call seeing the circle, where he appreciates what the full business impact will be. And when he built DailyPay, he created a culture that was both supportive, motivating, just really focuses on collaboration, diversity, and having all people engage and come up with ideas. That what attracted me to the company when I joined was he said, you know, there are so many steps from starting to market our product, getting somebody on board, to moving them in, to implementing, to executing, to having the employees, to supporting the employees, that nobody's area is better than another area. Everybody is just as critical. And if you don't do your job, the people before you and after you will be impacted. So we all have to work collectively and really kind of pull the wagon and move things forward. And I think that's what we see every day, you know, and it's just great because we're always looking at how we can create better results, different results, what we can do to improve the financial stability of the American worker. And, you know, someone asked me one day, what percentage of employees use DailyPay? And I said, 100. You know, if you don't need money right now before payday, that's totally fine. Don't tell me you don't need to be saving money, because nobody has saved enough money. Well, maybe Bill Gates, but like there's very few people that have saved enough money that they don't need to worry about that. And I love that. So from a product standpoint, you know, of course, our product is you know, perfect for people that are living paycheck to paycheck and need that boost. It's also perfect for people new to the workforce, don't understand how to manage their finances, or that have, you know, an unexpected emergency. They get in a car accident, or the heater goes out in their house in winter and they didn't budget for that. But what I love is even the third group of people who don't need to use DailyPay, but they use it proactively to do things like pay down finance charges on credit cards to boost their credit score. I mean, we've had employees write in and say, thanks to you, I was able to pay my credit cards down early to boost my credit score so I could afford to get this house or this car. And we're just making people's lives better. And again, it's all about their personal needs and control to what they need to have when they need to have it. And we love giving that option.
And there you go again. The theme really is promoting positive financial health and positive financial habits, you know. And I think that's what is emerging to me, at least to see in terms of what DailyPay is delivering as an experience. We have one last question I have. I know we're trying to get close to the clock here, but what's in the future? What's coming next? I can't wait.
Oh, well, you're going to have to wait because I can't give you a spoiler alert because then I'd have to kill you both and then that wouldn't go very well.
Why not? You can try.
What I can tell you is, you know, we are a very data-driven and insight-driven organization. In fact, during COVID, we launched both a rehire index and a workforce index so we could watch which industries were trending, share that information and insights with our clients and with our prospects, just to help educate people on the health of the employability and employment levels inside the United States. So we're constantly evolving our product and our solution to add more value to both the employer and to the employee. One of the recent products that we added was the ability to do this behind the scenes, what we call off-cycle payments. So you can do termination payments digitally. Happened to come in handy really well when payroll teams couldn't bring the check writing machine home as they've been quarantined. So they could still keep business flowing as usual. But we've got quite a robust roadmap coming up. And hopefully your companies will use DailyPay and then you can be clients and you can actually see what's on the roadmap.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. You know, a lot of companies talk about people first, but you guys are actually doing it. Your entire offering is about people first. And so kudos to you for doing that. And that's an, excuse me, sounds like a no-brainer solution as far as I'm concerned. So companies listening, you've got to get on board with this, if offer this to your employees. And tip for you guys, go contact the government for their unemployment benefits. They probably could use this as well. So we're up on time. It's been a pleasure to have you guys with us. Thanks for sharing what DailyPay is all about. And thanks for being with us one more time. Just stay with us as we wrap up. We have another show later today at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Let's see if I can quickly pull up what the show is. I probably should have prepared for that. Let's see. What do we have coming up? We have I can't find it. Here it is. Identify and protecting what's important with David Wald. So don't forget to join us in just a little over 2 hours for our second show for today. And until then, stay safe, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Jeannie. It was a pleasure.
Thank you both so much. I really enjoyed it.